Hi, I'm Bill Baldwin, the broker and owner of Boulevard Realty.
Bill, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? What did you do before you get here?
I lived in Huntsville, Texas, a small town, and I was in the restaurant business, and I came out as a gay man and moved to the city of Houston. I specifically chose the Heights because it reminded me of the small town. I did not think I was employable, so being in real estate, I was self-employed for the most part, and that's really why I chose real estate. And it was the perfect place at the perfect time for me. I really enjoyed the wide variety of people that I've gotten to meet and know, and then that I'm not really stuck in one location. And really, as it relates back to other things, I've seen the urban transformation of so many of our neighborhoods and our city over the last 3 decades. And I've really just it's been an honor to be a part of it.
Are you a salesperson?
You know, I consider myself to not be a pushy salesperson, but that if you provide good information and solid information to people, that they will see your worth in that. And so that's really what I try to attack real estate, just from the information perspective.
I know you're very impact in the community. What are you doing right now?
Well, about 10 years into my career, I was really entrenched into these inner city neighborhoods, and I was seeing that real estate and the values of real estate were dependent upon not just myself, but on crime and on street lights and on quality of life issues like trees and sidewalks and having businesses that were walkable and neighborhoods that had good schools. And so I really delved into the micro neighborhood issues, those schools, those trees, those street lights, getting involved with the local Heights Association, getting involved with local politics, getting involved with groups that were actively pursuing more parks or more hike and bike trails or things that I consider to be issues that consumers buying houses or renting houses would want in those neighborhoods. And then once you get onto that passion, then people join the passion with me. And it's been a pretty good experience to be known as, you know, Mr. Heights or the King of the Heights because of my involvement into such a local neighborhood. But really that transposes into every neighborhood. Every neighborhood wants their neighborhood not to flood. They want it to be safer. They want it to be more walkable. They want it to be greener. They want a safe place for their children. And so the real estate profession is acutely aware of the needs of the consumers and has this innate ability to connect people to solve some of those problems. And it's really been my passion the last 20 years.
That's a lot. That's big. That's a big movement.
Thanks.
Okay, here are the top 5 questions that I like to ask Bill. You ready?
Ready.
Okay, number 1. What wisdom would you give to your younger self?
You know, surround yourself with people that are smarter than you. And I'm always surrounding myself with staff people that know more than I do about the individual things that they do. And you're always learning from one another, but they want to learn from you as well. You know, so if you create an environment where people want to come to work, where they feel empowered, where they feel like they're actually contributing, where they're making a difference, where their wants and needs can also be heard and echoed along the way. So, you know, creating that kind of environment has been important for me from the very beginning. And I think just surrounding yourself early on with those mentors. I call 10 different realtors throughout the city a day, but 10 or 20 realtors call me from outside of our firm to ask advice on flooding or planning issues.
I was just about to ask that question. If young people who are just starting into coming from college and then starting their business, how do they reach out and surround themselves with?
Well, they can see who's being successful in the particular neighborhoods that they want, but there are lender people, there are inspectors. So early on, I befriended a title company, and that individual was my resource for deed restrictions, for how, and I would go in an hour before my closing, and I would let him go through the closing with me so that I could then answer the questions for my clients. My clients didn't have a relationship with that closer, but they did with me. So when they had a question, invariably, they didn't want to ask the closer, they wanted to ask me. But he gave me the wisdom and the knowledge so that I could be successful in front of my clients. Having a great termite inspector so that you can send someone a picture of a bug and say, what is this? Having a great inspector that you can speak to about mold or stucco or lead-based paint. It's about relationships. Our true success in real estate is about building relationships.
Alrighty, thank you for that. Here's a fun one. What is the top life hack you don't mind sharing?
And I barely knew what life hack was For me, we were talking earlier, for me, I don't have a lot of life hacks, honestly. Nothing in my life is really simple, but I try and make it consistent. And so I start my day every day, and I have since I was a small child. My father read the newspaper, so I read the newspaper. So I've always read the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and the local newspaper we're in. My children, when we travel when they're little, they got to get up early in the morning and go down and find me the local newspaper at the little convenience store or down in the hotel lobby or whatever. And then to be able, it keeps me up to date. I'm very knowledgeable on not only trends and just basic news, but lifestyles of people around the world. I read the paper portion, not the internet portion, every day. I read every sports section, every business section, every science times, every section, just so that I am well versed on what's going on in the world. And I really think it's made me where I could have a conversation about most anything, a little bit of information so that I can ask more questions to people that know more than I do. But it's really given me a leg up on just knowledge.
So what do you recommend somebody that does not like to read?
Surround yourself with people that do like to read. But look, podcasts, technology today is different than it was 20 or 30 years ago. There are podcasts, really, through TikTok, through the Instagram, through the Facebook. There's digitally all kinds of ways that you can learn. People pick this up on their commute to work by listening to this podcast, by listening to NPR, by just having a conversation with people, the snippets of the world. You know, we talked about, do I need the Cliff Notes? Well, why would I read the Cliff Notes when I can read the real thing? But some people just want the Cliff Note version of it. But in any way you can surround yourself, I think you will find it's so much easier to talk to people in the line at the grocery store, or when you're getting your hair cut, or when you're getting your nails done. The people beside you want to talk about real estate if you find that you can talk about some of these other things as well. They want to do business with people that they have other interests with, right? So I think just having a well-rounded array of things to talk about goes a long way in establishing relationships with people.
Got it. Thank you for that. Okay. What is the top money tips or investing tips you don't mind sharing?
You know, I'm not a real estate professional. I'm not a financial professional or whatever, so I can't really give advice. But my advice to everyone is invest in real estate. It's really been the consistent thing that I've seen over 30 years of growth. And there's so many different ways to invest in real estate. It's not just big, expensive houses, but duplexes, micro houses, land, rentals, Airbnbs, investments, flips, big construction projects. But I think if that's going to be our industry, then we should be able to be well versed on the return on the investment, the appreciation, the investment needed to make a better return. And look, I used to think $100,000 was a lot of money, and then $300,000 was a lot of money, and now we're selling lots for $750,000. Young people, real estate professionals, should be investors in real estate.
How would somebody who's never owned a house start saving and plan to invest?
And there's lots of ways to buy houses. My young assistants, Brandon and others, Arturo, we found 3% and 5% down payment options. We found down payment assistant options. My first house after my divorce, I had no money. I found a financed by owner. It was 5% down. I was the realtor. I got 3% for my side. I closed in October where they credited me taxes from the 1st through October 31st. I got in for $1,200.
Wow,
and I paid 7.5% interest in 2001, but I had a home where my children and I got to live. I sold that deal and made $50,000, and I did it again on the next one. My big tract of land I just bought was not able to be financed because it had some asbestos, and so we put some money down and the owner financed it for 2 years. I cleaned up the asbestos and then I refinanced it. I had about $300,000 worth of equity then that I could use in order to go refinance for the home construction. But being able to have those conversations with people about good credit scores and saving money consistently and lowering their debt and finding this down payment assistance.
Have you always had good credit score?
No, I'm in real estate. We had no credit when we first started out or whatever.
20 years ago?
20 years ago, I didn't even have any credit, and what I had was bad credit. No, you have to learn how to have good credit and what things impact your credit score and preparing. Look, we were commission salespeople that made no money for months on end, so you have to learn how it is that you can establish your credit. And there are skills that you can learn, and there are counselors willing to counsel you to help you.
I think there's a website from the government for credit
Even
counseling.
HAR, we have credit counseling for individuals.
From HAR.com.
And down payment assistance these days.
Awesome. All right. If life did not get too busy for you, because you're doing so much, and you can learn anything, what would you like to learn, and how would you use it?
Well, I always wanted to play the piano, but I never had the patience to play the piano. But I'm going to pivot and say what I really should have done early on was learn more foreign languages, learn Spanish. I took Latin in high school. That did me a lot of good. Really late. No, not at all. But the cool kids all took Latin in Huntsville, Texas back then. Yeah. But I wish I had really developed my language skills. So
what would that be right
well,
now?
I would be Spanish because in Texas it's the greatest number of population. And I think to be able to meet everyone on their level and their language is an important attribute. I don't have the time now to do that, so I surround myself with an assistant who speaks Spanish so I can accomplish the same thing. But it's not the same thing. I wish I had focused on a foreign language like Spanish much earlier on. And I think it would have helped myself individually and my career.
A language. Okay, got it. All right. What message would you like to live in this world for who are still living their life journey and for the next generation before you leave this body?
Look, we have an obligation while we're here to leave where we are better than where we found it. Whether that's addressing climate change, whether that's addressing fossil fuels, whether that's just making it greener or lifting a hand up to individuals that need us. None of us got anywhere with getting some assistance. And so not only are we fortunate in our career to surround ourselves with so many different people, but we truly can make the built environment better. We can attract better attractive housing. We can have better landscaping. We can focus on native landscaping. We can focus on more walkable communities. We can focus on greener communities. We can focus on more sustainable communities. And I think just building these communities, when you look back on utopian deals or Frank Lloyd Wright from 100 years ago, these ideas that didn't really make it. And what we got were soulless suburban environments. That people just don't feel the character. They're attracted to my inner city neighborhoods because there's a character to these places and it makes them feel good. Today I was showing a house and I found a house for my clients and it was kind of what they looked for. And literally when she got there, she started crying because it was exactly the feel for what she wanted. And while it was not an old house, she said it spoke to her like an old house. And that sort of feeling when people have to come home every day or they face challenges in life, if their abode, their casa, the place they live, can give them that sort of feeling. And again, it's set in a tree-lined street and it's walkable and it's by the hiking bike trail, so that built environment we were talking about is also so very important to these individuals because it's the quality of their life that's really mattering. So I think focusing on those sort of things and trying to make the neighborhoods better than where we found them.
Make it better.
Make it better.
How you found them.
Yep, leave it better.
I have 2 more questions here.
Okay.
That is going to be extra.
Okay.
We're talking a little bit business here. There is I think it's called SWOT, where I'm going to ask you about what is your strength?
The strength is that I think I try and amass a certain amount of knowledge. I believe knowledge is power. So I've tried to I'm the foremost expert on flooding in the city of Houston. I'm the foremost expert on historic districts in the city of Houston. I'm a new construction specialist. I'm a planning and platting specialist. I understand how build lines work. I understand more about permitting than most realtors ever will know in their entire life. I understand how public works.
And you become that specialist from liking to read.
The reading, surrounding myself with other experts, choosing to become an expert in those areas, reaching out to others who were expert in those areas and learning from them. So my strength is the knowledge that I possess, that then I can share as the broker. I get to share them with my agents, as the firm's employees, we get to share that to the group of people. They get to spend their talents on things. If we're all learning something new, look, my marketing department can learn something new from something I'm learning about culture over here, right? My agents want to know more than just how to fill out a contract. They want to know more about new flood maps and these sort of new permitting requirements and new setback requirements, and then they're a resource for their customers, and they feel invaluable. And the clients, our consumers who buy and sell houses, see the value of our proposition of what it is that we're providing.
Thank you for that. What is your weakness?
Weakness is technology. My number one weakness is technology. I don't know what PDF means. I don't know how to scan anything in. I surround myself with people that know how to do that sort of thing. So sometimes I'm intimidated by the technology. The way I counteract it is to surround myself with people that are stronger, recognizing my weakness, surrounding myself with people. And look, I have other strengths. And look, I used to think, oh, they must think I'm really stupid because I don't understand how to upload this. But you know what?
Here's my question.
They're providing a service
for somebody who cannot hire an assistant yet or surround themselves there yet. How can they?
I think they just tackle it. I think they incrementally get better at each of one of those little things. You just have if it's important to you, you will find a way to do it. For me, I focus on something else because I have a group of people that can do it for me. But I think if I didn't have those people, I would focus more on the internet and what that really means. But technology is truly my weakness. I own it. I recognize that that's my weakness. And I counteract it, like I say, by surrounding people who are much better at it than I am.
What advice do you have for how to build better rapport?
Well, I think you just practice makes perfect, and building confidence is real good. When I started over in real estate, didn't know anything, I took one little pocket neighborhood, very small neighborhood, and I studied everything about it. Who got things under contract, what was the average price per square foot, what was the average repair allowance, what was the average interest rate, how many days on the market, and then I knew every house, what was the best 2-1 bungalow, where was the best 2-2, where was the best 3-2, and when someone would come to me and say, I like this house, it's 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, but I really need a second bathroom, I could say, it's around the corner, it's listed by John Smith, it's been on the market 7 days, I think it's undervalued by $20 a price per square foot, and people would, honestly, they would go to that open house with that other agent and they would come back and say, you know what, you listened to me, you told me something I didn't already know, I would love for you to represent me when I go and buy my house.
And if you're somebody who does not like to read and do that research, what will you do?
Surround yourself with people that do. Get an assistant, get a brokerage that can help you with those sort of things. Look, I'm a broker of 60 agents. Some are really good at just getting clients, but maybe not as good at the contracts. Some are really good at writing the contracts, but they don't have the person. You fill in the gaps. It's a team approach. Surround yourself with a team of people who are stronger than you in different things, who can help you, monitor you, encourage you, and see to your success.
Where do you see Houston in the next 5 years?
Houston's a very livable city. It's a jewel in the country. That it's not a high-profile city like New York or LA, and we don't have beaches like Florida or Southern California. What we have is a Southern hospitality. We've got an affordable housing stock. We've got a large city that's greener than people think. We have more culture and arts than almost any other city. It's more affordable to get to. We have diversity like any other city in the nation. And we have an inclusivity that we need to continue to work on. So I think these southern cities continue to grow and prosper. Some areas will be very urban and dense, and we're going to still continue to have suburban areas. And with Zoom and the way people are working, they're able to work from home more and more. And a suburban environment might work for one group. But I think you're going to see the urban core continue to grow and densify while it continues to struggle with walkability, the greening, and the quality of life issues that
but
people
you're planning to add.
I am planning on every one of those things.
Where are you planning to get plans to add it to the community?
You know,
nursery?
We work on mass transit, we work on dedicated sidewalk funds, we work on the greening of the city, we address climate change and sustainability, and there are many people working on those very things. They don't want to.
What do you think of those fake grass that looks green?
Artificial turf is a great resource for I do like it. I'm actually putting it in my own house right now.
Awesome.
I think more sustainable, either native planting. Look, the pesticides, the water, between the droughts and the freezes and the amount of money you're spending, if we could use more native landscaping, if we could use more artificial landscaping where it's appropriate, it's greener. I covered my driveway in the artificial turf so that you drive over artificial turf to get to the garage as opposed to a bunch of concrete. I looked over that area. I didn't want to see concrete. I wanted to see that green, which is artificial, tied to some Asian jasmine on the fence. So I tie in a little real with a little artificial. It's greener, it's safer, it's easier to maintain. I don't have to mow.
Is it expensive? Is it how much?
You know what's expensive? It's replacing your dead grass and your frozen grass and your frozen plants. And while there's an initial investment, it's actually long-term cheaper to invest in that artificial turf than it is in the continued use of chemicals and plants that weren't designed for this climate.
Oh my God, I think the artificial grass business is going to go up now.
I hope so.
Should we start investing?
We could.
Lastly, what is your passion?
You know, I tell people my real passion are books that are behind this. I have this need to take the book. Wherever I go, I buy the local book from the local printer, the first edition, the signed edition. It's the tourism trinket that I bring home with me from India, from Russia, from England, from France, from Italy. It's, I started watching this Netflix series, All the Light You Cannot See. Of course, I immediately went and got the first edition of that book so that I have it as reference. I like to read the Bridgerton books in their first edition before I see them over on Netflix. But I like urban planning books. I like progressive books. I have a huge collection of books that relate to Houston, either Houston artists or Houston references of something, just because they're part of our local history. But yeah, I'm passionate most about books.
So you must be really good with research.
I read, not only do I read those newspapers every day, I read every night. I go to bed every night and read. And look, on my nightstand, I have 15 different books, and I can read 3 chapters of this one and switch over to another one. I don't really work in one fine line. I work across many genres of things.
How much time do you spend time on
At least an hour at night reading,
every night.
least. Yes, every night.
Is there a morning ritual that you do?
I get up, I make my coffee, and I get my 3 newspapers, and I read through the 3 newspapers every day of my life.
Wow,
I'm
so
very consistent.
I'm just gonna be next to you and say, hey, can you do this research?
Happy to help.
Google.com, Bill.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you for being here.